Hello and welcome to episode 3 of URC Unloaded. We are here with two rugby legends and of course Tom Shanklin. Good to see you, Tom. Already we're off to a better start than last week after John got the name of the show wrong. Tut tut John, tut tut. Anyway, some huge talking points from the weekend's games that we will get stuck into very shortly. But first of all, we're delighted to be joined by Sharks head coach Sean Everett. Sean, firstly, how are you getting on?
Yeah, it's all going well. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the show.
No problem at all. You're off the back of a very good win against the Ospreys. I'm sure morale is a hell of a lot better in camp this week.
Yeah, it is. Week 3 on tour is always a difficult week. So, I've been on many Super Rugby tours that are 4 or 5 weeks long. But, the guys really stuck to the task, prepared well last week, stayed positive throughout the entire week and during the preparation process. And, put in a good performance, which we were very happy about.
Well, off the back of the good performance, just talk us through the goal line dropout. Obviously, it's a new rule this year in the URC, but you had a strategy in place. Is this something that you talked about in the first couple of weeks, or is this just something Chamberlain straight off the bat went with the drop goal?
We did chat about it, funny enough. I told the players that you're allowed to kick the drop goal, and I know that the Ospreys put in a request for clarity with regard to the ruling.
Okay.
So we did speak about it during the week. The players were against me, and they took me a few beers bet on that. Anyway, we planned ahead, and apart from kicking 2 of them, I got myself a few free beers, which we're very happy about.
Sean, are you having competitions in training to see who's the best, see who's the furthest?
The players do muck around a little bit. I used to do that as well, but unfortunately I injured my knee in the process, so that was quite a laugh. But yes, Kerwin and Butter kicked the ball really well, and as you can see, Ryan Pino is a good kicker too. So they do have a little bit of fun at training afterwards.
Did you actually set up for that then? In terms of, I know they're obviously trying to kick it away from Chamberlain, potentially that's what teams will look at. But are you going to look to, maybe you can't tell us, but put guys on either side? I saw, and people said, they've got to change the rules, and I still think, I look back at Yannick de Beer in the World Cup against England, and it's still an unbelievable skill. It's not easy to smash a drop goal from 40 yards, and even if you put it aside and you're still going to pat, it's still going to be an accurate kick. Is that something you guys are going to look at on both sides of the pitch?
Yeah, I think what's happened on the weekend, I think the teams will try and nullify those opportunities. So I suppose it's a risk versus reward. You kick long, that the team might kick the drop goal, but like you said, you have to be skilled to be able to put it over the crossbar. Other teams might kick it to the corner, but then you have the risk of kicking it out on the full. And if you go short, you're handing opposition the ball. So I suppose, we will look at it, and if that opportunity presents itself, we'll do it again. Like you said, it depends where the ball lands. I don't think they plan to land the ball there. I think most teams are kicking the goal line dropouts to try and get it between the touch and the 15 to try and avoid that. But, if you've got big kickers, and if you look at France, Steyn and those guys in South Africa, we do all a long way.
We spoke to John Dobson last week, Sean, and we spoke to him about touring the UK and Ireland. John didn't mention Ireland last week. He got hammered online for not saying it. I had to back him up, and someone called him an idiot, and I had to make him do something. But how's it been? How have you enjoyed your time in Ireland, in Scotland, and now in Wales?
Yeah, it's been really refreshing for us. For some of the guys that have been on many Super Rugby tours to Australia and New Zealand has obviously enjoyed those experiences, but this has been very different. The conditions have actually been quite good for us. We expected worse, and I think you guys probably did the same, but I think the weather's been very kind to us. The people have been extremely welcoming. I know that John Dobson spoke about the experience that he had with Thomond Park. It's the same for us. The people appreciate rugby. They have a great rugby knowledge. And then obviously coming to Wales, we based ourselves here last week and this week, and the people have been amazing in the streets, chatting, being very friendly and open about the rugby. We were able to watch the Bulls game on Saturday night at Cardiff Arms Park. That was a great experience, in front of a good crowd. So we're looking forward to that on Saturday. But all in all, a great experience for all of us. And I think what's most pleasing for us is that we adapted really quickly and learned fast to the conditions and the law interpretation.
Where's the best night out so far then? Out of 3 places.
We've only had one night out. It was Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's
Saw
one.
a couple of the boys having beers after. What's Werner Koch done to his eye? He's like the Terminator.
You got to bang on the eye in the first game. Unfortunately against Munster, and it's looking a little bit better. It was a lot worse than that, so he's on the mend.
Very good, Sean. You were at Cardiff Arms Park there at the weekend, but like it seems like the South African franchises are a little too close for comfort. Are you guys learning off the other franchises, off the other teams, of how their logistics have been going? The first few weeks. Dobson also said that there's been phone calls back and forth just about travel and about training, etc. Are you doing exactly the same thing?
Yes, we definitely have. John Dobson and I go back a long way, as do Jake White, so we do communicate with each other. Obviously, before the Stormers game against Munster, we had a chat about what to expect and accommodation and the logistics. So we have helped each other along, and I think with the experience that we've had for these 4 weeks, we've pretty much experienced accommodation from the different countries. So we'll be a lot smarter and wiser when we return. In saying that, the facilities that we've had to train at and the accommodation that we've experienced has been top level. So we're very happy with that and have no complaints.
Is it almost because we saw the clips of your players with the Bulls players, and I was kind of wondering, would the Scotland players do the same if Edinburgh and Glasgow too? I don't know if they would. And is it almost, I don't know if the Welsh player, I don't know what the Irish players would do, Stevie. Is there like I don't want to call it a siege mentality where you're away, you sort of have these bonds obviously within your team, but it's definitely a sense of we're on tour, we're away from home together, we're in this together, and you saw how much it meant to the guys to get the wins at the weekend. Yes,
I think it comes from a lot of criticism that the South African franchises have taken over the last 3 weeks, being over here, not being able to get a win. So obviously people want to stand together and the players want to stand together. But in saying that, the players have become close. They know each other really well. Some of them have been together in Springbok camps and alignment camps. The players have played junior World Cups together. And most importantly, I think, the franchises have banged against each other for the last, nearly 18 months. So, yeah, the guys do know each other well and obviously want to support each other.
What do you think it's taken a bit of time, Sean, just to adapt and to work out the breakdown, I suppose, is the biggest issue I've seen with the South African franchises coming over. It certainly didn't help with the first 2 games. With the first game against Munster, my light's just gone out. I don't know why. I haven't paid bills, I think. But do you think it's taken a little bit of time to adjust? Because I think we saw a massive turn at the weekend just gone of South Africa franchises really improving.
Yeah, very much so. I think in our conditions at home over the winter months, we are able to move the ball more freely. We don't get punished for the risk taken in doing that. We were fortunate enough to play against the British and Irish Lions on 2 occasions, and we certainly got punished for our errors there. And in saying that, we brought over a lot of youngsters that are in our group that haven't toured before. Some of them haven't left the borders of South Africa, so it's a great experience for them and a big learning curve from a rugby perspective. So we knew it was going to be tough initially, but I'm just glad that our boys have adjusted really well and learned quickly. And obviously we're on the climb. Thomond Park for us was a difficult excursion, traveling for the first time for some of the boys and obviously playing away from home. But we were better in the second half against Glasgow and adapted well on Friday night. Now it's for us to keep climbing.
I just want to ask one thing with my Scottish hat on, Sean. We just saw today Dylan Richardson's been named in the Scotland squad. Now, a lot of the people who listen to this might not have seen a lot of him in terms of your exposure to him, and I guess people listening from Scotland, what can they expect from someone like him? And I guess a bit of a bolt out of the blue for him as well, potentially, was it?
Yeah, he's been in talks with Scotland for quite a while now. I've coached Dylan since 2018. I was involved in the junior ranks at the time, and he's an extremely hard worker, and he's certainly focused and ambitious and self-driven young guy. and that's why he's playing where he is at his age right now. Dylan is an incredible worker. You know, he tops our tackle counts week in and week out. On top of that, he's good on the floor. And he's also a very strong ball carrier, as you guys would have seen in the game that he's played. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that South Africa has lost a young prospect like that. But, you know, he's chosen this path, and it's great, you know, that he's going to get an opportunity, hopefully, to play international rugby at such a young age. But he's got plenty to offer going forward. You know, he's played a few games for the Sharks at hooker as well. It was probably a pathway that, you know, we recommended for him, but he was more comfortable playing on the flank, and that's great for him. And I think he's a great acquisition for Scotland rugby.
Sean, if you could scout any more players for Scotland, they'll take absolutely anyone.
I'll see.
Hold on.
All they're going to do is drink whiskey or a Highland toffee or drink iron brew. They're Scottish, so.
Well, thanks for that, Shanks. Appreciate it. Sean, we'll not keep you too long. Thanks so much for the insights and also for your honesty. And very best of luck this weekend against Cardiff and for the rest of the season. And I'm sure we'll be chatting later on in the season. So go well, safe travels onwards, and we'll speak to you soon.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks,
Sean.
Take it easy.
Right, lads, let's dive into the rest of the talking points from the weekend. Let's kick off with the South African side with Sean just off the call with us. Tom, much improved weekend with the South African side. We said last weekend in the URC Unloaded there might be a couple of surprises, but surely we didn't see some of the South African sides turning over the likes of the Ospreys at the weekend.
I didn't think we would. The Ospreys were 2 from 2. Sharks had a pretty tough start to the season, didn't they? Munster away and then Glasgow. But, mate, they deserved to win. Massively deserved to win. They played better rugby. They created 2 nice tries. You know, the Ospreys, I think, they are 2 from 3, so you can't give them too much of a hard time. But I've yet to see anything really convincing in their style of play at the moment. I think they seem limited in what they're doing. Their attack doesn't seem to function great at the moment. That's not just the Ospreys as well. You know, you look at the Scarlets, you know, they were hammered as well at the weekend. The Blues didn't play particularly well at the weekend or against the Ospreys. So I think Welsh rugby is struggling slightly at the moment with producing quality.
But Shanks, have we not been saying that for the last few seasons now?
Yeah,
you know,
we have.
Is this not repeat here?
A little bit, Stevie, but then, you know, you look at the start of the season, everyone's positive and you're just hoping this is going to be the season that teams will crack on and, you know, squads are strengthened, players are coming back from injury, but it hasn't quite clicked yet. It clicked for the Blues against Connacht in the first game. Scarlets were good against the Lions. Dragons have been good against Connacht away. Ospreys were 2 from 3, but for me, week in, week out, the product isn't the greatest. It's not exciting enough week after week for people to be absolutely, you know, excited and revolve their week around going to the rugby. It's games that they have to go and see. It's slightly boring at the moment, and that was the case, I think, at the Ospreys. And I thought the Sharks played really well.
The question was about the South African team, Shanks.
Hey?
I think the question was about the South African team.
Yeah, I was just going for a rant early, mate. That was all. Get it done now. But they were good. They were good. Two good tries. Took their opportunities against a pretty average, I thought, Ospreys team at the weekend. So no complaints there whatsoever. The better team won. Yeah. I'm glad for them as well.
Well, absolutely.
I saw the Stormers game. I think was it last week we said, it might take. Maybe it shows how little we know. We said it might take 6 months. 6 months to adapt. 6 days, it turns out. You know, I watched the Glasgow game, pretty average game, but bad conditions. And I watched the Edinburgh game against Stormers. Stormers should have won the game. Like, Edinburgh got off to a fast start, and then they play. And Steve, you spoke about last week. They play a hell of a brand of rugby, offload, physical as anything. They got some unbelievable ball carriers in that team. So, Roos in the rate, he was quality. Gallant at fullback. They've got some really nice players, and I watched them. I thought, okay, wow, maybe it's definitely not 6 months. And these guys were good. I think the Lions as well seem to have a bit more. I don't know if mongrel is the right word. They seem to have a bit more physicality around them for duration. They can maybe figure out how they want to play the game. I think being away from home, like these coaches we spoke to John Dobson last week and Sean, that it's not easy. So maybe we see fluctuations in emotion. It's not easy being away for that long. But yeah, I thought they were all worth their wins. I thought Storm should have beat Edinburgh probably.
Talked about Chamberlain's drop kicks, right? Have you boys ever attempted either a drop kick at goal or a drop out 22?
I've tried one. I've tried one against the Ospreys because we had advantage, and I looked up, and when people used to drop the ball in front of them because they had advantage, and I looked up, and Jerry Collins was in front of me, so I tried to drop kick. Thanks, pay the bill, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Put another couple of quid in the meter there, Shanks, to keep that light on. But like you were talking about, Tom, about and John, about like the South African teams adapting, but surely the other teams have to adapt to the way the South African teams play. So Cardiff getting beaten at home, they know what's going to be coming from the Bulls, and the way the Stormers play, Edinburgh surely had to be expecting something similar like they seen in the first half against Munster the previous week. So you can say, oh yeah, the South African teams have to adapt, but it has to be the other way about, surely.
I think they're getting fitter as well, though. They're getting fitter. They're getting used to it. I think this is so poor from Cardiff. Like that's first phase. You can't let that be happening. But I mean, they're trying to poor, but poor Priestland here up against them. You can't do anything about that. We've all been there. But I just South African teams, like, they're so physical, but they've been so inaccurate in the first few weeks, and they were accurate. Like the Stormers were probably inaccurate for the first 10 minutes in the game against Edinburgh, and then they were brilliant, but they couldn't quite claw back. So whether they're just getting fitter and used to the conditions over here, which we said would take 6 months, or whether they're just adapting and they're figuring out how to play. But I speaking to the two coaches we've spoken to the last couple of weeks, they seem to get it. Do you know, like, they seem to get, like, this is a bit more, it's a bit of a process. It's a bit about enjoying yourself. I'd imagine they're saying to the players, this is the long haul, enjoy yourselves. And they seem to be enjoying themselves now.
There's no plan B sometimes with teams. I covered the Blues-Bulls game. Did you cover a game this weekend, John?
I didn't get asked. I thought I was one of the main guys, but
but the Bulls had a plan B, because the first half they tried to throw the ball wide, they tried to play around the Blues, but second half they just tightened it right up, and Kutsia was really good. He was super quiet in that first half. Duplessis was good, both of them. Bismarck carried really well. Lowe was good, scored a try there, just ran over Seb Davis really, but they just reverted back to type, really. They just kept it short. There were some big carries. They didn't try and play too much. Both wingers were really good. Tambaway, we saw that pace against poor Reece Priestland. Ardenser as well was really good. And they were just creating space off loose kicks, off running the ball back, which is massive now, isn't it? Just trying to create attack from kick receipt, which is a form now. Attack isn't just from set piece; it's massively from kick return as well, to set yourselves up to get in position. But Cardiff Rugby just tried to play the same way the whole game. In the first half, it worked, and they played well. The passing was slick. They had different options around the breakdown for carries. Put it behind a forward to a winger. Being able to hit tight. But second half just massively came unstuck, and the Bulls were good. Like, really impressive, really physical, as you expect from a South African team. So all of a sudden now is quite a few warning signs about these South African teams, I think, which is good, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah, it's exactly what we want. We want to see a more competitive league. That's why everybody's tuning in to see these South African sides. I think the weather has been kind. Listening to Sean Everett, I think it's due to be pretty good this weekend. So maybe the South African teams are licking their lips. But lads, just to quickly move on, the biggest, huge talking point, massive news coming out of Munster Rugby after their big victory against Scarlets at the weekend. 43 points they managed to put on them. RG Snyman, a re-rupture of his cruciate ligament. John, I'll just come to you. You have been there with injuries mentally. How tough is it? And how big a loss is it to Munster Rugby to have such a big man, big presence, a World Cup winner, South African World Cup winner, missing for them for yet another season?
Yeah, I watched that and I saw him go off and I was like, oh, I think the commentator said, I hope it's not as cruciate. And, I think we've all, between us, had a serious injury. To see that, I genuinely, I ruptured my Achilles, and the thought of doing it again as a player, to have to go through that rehab, and he's not an old RG Snyman, but to have to do that again is brutal. Like, I don't care what anyone says. It is so hard to rehab an injury mentally more than anything, and probably even harder as a foreign player who's come over, big signing, getting paid very well, and he's come to a big club, and he would have played. He's a brilliant player, and he's not had a chance to play. How you settle into a squad, how you embed yourself, because you're on different timetables when you're an injured player. I watched it, and I was just like, and I saw the news, and I was, you see, he had a good start of the season, but it's just, a shame for him, shame for Munster. Shame's not even strong enough. Is brutal.
Yeah, and he scored that try against the Stormers, and he seems like a bit of a player's favourite, fans' favourite. Been out for such a long time. He scored that try, and they're all jumping on him, patting him on the head. But like, Munster have got off to a really good start in the competition. They're leading the URC, playing some really nice, attractive rugby. But, Shanks, you obviously watched the game, Scarlets at the weekend. Munster, very impressive, much changed side. The likes of Diarmuid Barron at hooker was brilliant. But, come on, a hooker making line breaks up the middle of the pitch and then kicking it through for the winger. It seemed like the Scarlets' defence was porous, not just for bits and pieces of the game, but the whole way throughout. And surely Dwayne Peel, coming in there as the head man, won't be happy with that.
No, he won't be. But the Scarlets' defence has been a bit rocky for a while now. Like last season, it was season before, we started to see signs. So there's no real shock there in the Scarlets leaking tries, but you just expect them to score more tries. They scored one at the weekend. Normally they're a team that come close to winning these big games, but just fall behind. But just to score one try was pretty bad. They missed 20 tackles. That's no good. Losing Scott Williams as well doesn't help, because he's been a catalyst. Same as Sam Johnson, really, at Glasgow in their attack. Everything seems to run through him. We forget about Reece Patchell, don't we? Quality player, but he's not played for a long time. And if anything, we need more gingers in rugby, because there's not many really. There's not really many putting their hand up. Doak now at Ulster.
Well, we have the ginger Pinar at Ulster. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought Dan Jones probably needed to come on a little bit earlier. But it doesn't bode well when you're losing heavily like that. 43 points. They lost 3 times last year, 50 points. That's a massive kick in the privates. It's a massive dent in confidence.
I know you said it's not a massive surprise and you'd expect them to score more tries, but just like the manner of the tries, like you said, it was almost at will. The lack of desire to defend was flabbergasted for me. I could not believe the lack of intensity in defence. And I'll say it, Munster, it was their second string team. That's not Munster fully loaded, coming over, making a big statement. They came over with their second string side and pulled Scarlet's pants down. And it was the nature of the way. And Scarlet's could not, and Scarlet's couldn't get anything going in attack either. I think Scott Williams was a big part of that, which you said, Shanks. But also, I think defensively, he's a big leader for them. When I played with him as Scarlets, when I came to Scarlets, the kind of perception was all attack. And defense came second. He was someone that drove that side of the game. So I think he's probably responsible for that. I was, really disappointed in the quality of that performance. And if like you say, the Welsh teams over the weekend were poor. Of all the Welsh teams, that Scarlet's performance is one of the poorest I've seen.
The thing is, though, you need big hits. You need big collisions to slow ball down. It doesn't always have to be people jackling the breakdown to slow ball down. Just aggressive hits, stopping people, not allowing teams to get quick ball. And there's just not enough of that at the moment. They're quite passive in the way they defend. So it's like a catch-22, isn't it? If you want to improve your defence and you want to improve your line speed and you want to stop teams breaking you at will, you need some big collisions out there. And for whatever reason, it's not really happening. But Stevie, what did you make of? I mean, it was pretty poor defensive display from Scots. What did you make of Munster's attack?
Yeah, well, I think watching the Rob Evans interview after the game, he got a little bit emotional, but it was almost like he was embarrassed. And I actually think that there was quotes from the Scarlets camp to say that they were embarrassed. But it's nothing. You can't take anything away from the Munster performance, especially Ben Healy at out half, settling into the game straight away. The setup to go down to the blind side, then there was a reverse pass to him. He then kicked the 50-22. And I was like, brilliant. That's just them doing their homework. But it was a really good executed kick. You talk about RG Snyman out, young Thomas Ahern in the second row. He got a couple of games last year, but he's got big boots to fill there. But he's got all the potential to do so. Maybe he could put an extra 5-10 kgs onto his frame, but lots of quality. Liam Coombs in the centre, he was unreal. And I know John Barclay wants to talk about Chris Calote in the back row, who's player of the match. But in fairness, John, he did have a bit of a field day.
But he was unreal, and I watched that. But he was Scarlets were so passive either side of the ball. And you talk about how bad and passive Scarlets' defense was. Munster just kept coming, and it was almost contagious. They kept going, and he just had a field day with and without the ball, but particularly without the ball. On ball in the collisions, and you could see how frustrated the Scarlets were getting with him. I saw a couple of players coming in off the bench, clearly been given the message to try and take him off the ball. But he's a proper unit, he's a specialist over ball, and he was brilliant and deserved it. But again, it's one of those ones. They'll go back to Scarlets and say, you can have all the plays in the world, you can have all the attack plays, you can have all the defensive systems, but if you don't bring any intensity to any of that, it's none of that's important.
Yeah, totally. No, it was disappointing from the Scarlets, but really good from the young Munster men, and hopefully a few of those lads get another opportunity this week when they play Connacht. But moving on to the best subject, and of course, it's Ulster. Ulster, a huge win. Again, 28 points to 8. They beat Benetton. Young Nathan Doak, player of the match for 2 weeks in a row. But Graham Little, he was very giddy pre-match. Will Addison apparently is a cousin of his, but Will Addison actually confirmed that they are related. So let's have a quick look at this.
I have another question for you.
Oh, here we go.
Are you aware that we're related?
I am.
Are you?
My second
They
cousin.
didn't believe me.
Second cousin uncle Robert Burke has told me many times that we are somewhat related, but that's the way it is in this world, isn't it? In Northern Ireland, I think everyone's somewhat related.
Who's he more proud of? The guy from TV?
Well, it depends on tonight, doesn't it?
It does. I've told the boys to go easy on you because we're family.
Yeah, exactly. Too right. I know Trimby's got something. Maybe Stevie might be a bit more harsh on me, but we've got a special connection, so that should be fine.
Good to see you, cousin Will.
Good to see you as well.
Best of luck, mate. Have a good game tonight.
Perfect. Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
Will. Good luck. Cheers.
Oh, small world, isn't it?
It's a small world, up in Fermanagh, but Graham's been chomping at the bit to ask that question for the last while. But I think he was looking at the family tree all week. He didn't want to embarrass himself. But Will, what a nice lad! It's good to see him back. Shanks, as a former centre yourself, have you been impressed with his return back in an Ulster jersey?
Yeah, he's a quality player, mate. He's that skillful. He's a bit like a Henry Slade type of player. You can play him anywhere. He's comfortable. He knows the game. He can read the game. His skill set's really good. He's big. He's powerful. He's quick. So he's one of these players you just want him in your team. I think probably I probably like him more at 15 than centre. He's got a good kicking game. I think he can hit the line well. He's got good vision. But equally good at 13. But I think 13 there's probably quite a few. There's quite a few boys which will be ahead of him. I think if with his island aspirations. So I think 15 is probably more than likely going to be a better shot for him. But because he's versatile, he's always going to be in the picture. I think that's how I got so many caps for Wales. Because I could play in the wing and the centre, so I was valuable.
Yeah, we actually asked Will Addison. I think it was the next question after that with Graham on presentation in Belfast, where he wanted to play or liked to play, and he played all over the back line for Sale. But yeah, I think in the centre, he's a very good distributor. But the biggest talking point to come out of the Ulster game was young Nathan Doak once more. Just a quick, brief few words from me on Nathan Doak. It's just his box kicking is on the point. The ginger Pinar. This is a try that he's just trailing on the inside. Young Dave McCann actually had a lot better game. But I tell you what, Ulster have not found their straps. Ulster are not playing brilliantly at all. But yet they've scored, 15, 16 tries, maximum points. And Nathan Doak backing himself. He's 100% off the kicking tee as well. I think Billy Burns has only landed 1 or 2 kicks so far this season, a really low percentage. So with John Cooney out of the picture here at the minute with the hamstring injury, he's out of the frame with Ireland. His face doesn't fit in the Irish picture. The autumn internationals are upon us. Nathan Doak's 19 years of age. He's 5 caps to his name for Ulster, 4 caps to his name for Ulster, only a couple of starts. Do you think he's good enough to be thrown down there? Not to play international rugby, but to be involved in the setup, to learn off Johnny Sexton, to go down there with Conor Murray? Or is that too big a ask at the minute? Are us Ulster supporters getting ahead of ourselves?
Yeah, that or all the above, I agree with.
I agree, yeah. I didn't know you were an Ulster supporter, Stevie.
What's that? Sorry, John?
I didn't realise you were an Ulster supporter. You're so happy when you talk about Ulster. I'll just before we take. I think if you're old enough, you're good enough. I wouldn't necessarily play him. I think it's too easy to throw younger guys in and then expect the world of them. That being said, if he plays that all the way up to the autumn, then play him. Why not?
You can go to squads now.
Yeah,
you can go to squads now and not really be in contention, but gain the experience of playing around us. Do you know what I liked about him, Stevie? He wasn't just, he wasn't just delivering the ball off the back of the scrum. That vision for his try was really good because he has to put players through the hole there. So he has to delay the pass. You need a bit of sort of fly halfness about you, which he's got. Like Thomas Williams would have. Players like that, and he puts one of the Ulster players through a hole. Then it's great trail line as well. So he's got a good skill set as well. So he does look good. Maybe a little bit early, but certainly invite him in for a bit of confidence and to see what international rugby and training is about, because training is massively different, isn't it, compared to club level. I used to hate training. Oh
yeah, I think it would be a really interesting call by Andy Farrell to bring Nathan Doak in, and the reason for that is just because John Cooney is still Ulster's number one, or is he Ulster's number one? So it's an interesting one but it'll be good to see if Nathan gets another start this weekend against the Lions on Friday night in Belfast. I'll be on commentary for that one, so make sure and tune in. But let's move on, lads. We're going to be wrapping up shortly. But rant of the week. We know we have a few rants of the week. I don't have one this week. So John Barclay, will come to you first.
I got the refs here. I got the refs again. And I as a player, you speak to referees and they say we're checking everything now. But this for me is the most blatant non-try. You can't see it great in that angle. Sam Costello gets held there and Cloyte goes through the gap. You see it on the reverse angle here. He goes in, holds on to him, still holds on to him, pick and go try. It doesn't matter in the context of the game. Scarlett's lost the game. You see it best here. How he's part of the ruck, I don't understand how that's allowed. And I think we're in a game now where I don't want to hammer referees because it's a tough gig. Decisions in the moment are hard, a penalty here. But when you've got 4 people making a decision and the question got asked and then the TMO came in and said, oh, he's part of that, gets a try. And there was no discussion and it was given as if it didn't matter. But these things will matter. Whether it gets a points difference, whatever it is, there's no excuse for that. In my opinion, I don't know if that's just me, if you guys think that's a try.
But John, if that's in the final of the URC come June time and that try is given, it's
never a try.
It's never a try. And it's a bit like the yellow card last week when Andy Brace sent off Morat for the Stormers. It can't happen. So practice needs to be preached the whole way throughout this league. And at the minute, a few of the refereeing decisions haven't been good.
Well, I don't know if we're going to see the Glasgow try as well. Are we seeing that? I don't know if we're seeing that. The Glasgow try, which was no try.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is, and I get the referee stops. It's not the referee's fault here. We have people watching the video live. He's not on the ground yet, so it's not the Glasgow player's fault. It's not the Lions player's fault.
You could accept that if there was no TMOs, couldn't you? You'd accept it if the referee's made a decision. Fine, it's like being in the 70s again or 80s, but TMOs are checking everything, and for TMOs not to pick that out and to actually deem them okay.
I was going to say it's not like a holding on penalty or a offside in the context of the game, which that's made with split second. We can't have every decision, but when it's a decision like that, and Glasgow won the game by 4 points.
Yeah, 13-9. 13-9. Shanks, is that your rant of the week? Is it that decision in the Glasgow game?
I got a few. I think I've taken over what this was actually designed for you. I've got refs pulling like nines back or anyone trying to take quick tap penalties when it's nowhere near like the goal line, anywhere around the 40-meter line, somewhere where it's not going to make an issue whatsoever, like pulling them back a meter. You know, we want teams to speed up. We want the game to be sped up. So I saw it a couple of times over the weekend, one in the Cardiff Bulls game. I can't remember where the other one was. You're just thinking, why being so pedantic? They want to speed the game up. Let them go. Let them tap and go. Don't be so nauseating of bringing it back a meter or sideways a meter. You know, we want to see a fast game. That was one. The try for Glasgow was another. And the third was people not mentioning Ireland and UK when the South Africa teams are touring around, which was you last week, John. And I feel like you were taking a bit of abuse online, and I actually had to step in and tell a guy to chill out. His name was Gruff Paddy.
Gruff Paddy.
And he was so upset that he just forgot to mention Ireland, which is super easy to do. And I had to diffuse the situation. And anyway, he complimented us with great work at the end. So
very good, Shanks. Very good. I didn't have a rant this week, but I sort of had. Well, I always have a bit of a rant. In the Ulster game, the referee, it was AJ Jacobs, was it? I think it was a South African referee. Yeah, it was him. So he gave it. Now, this is in favour of Benetton. This isn't in favour of Ulster. So for the first Ulster try, it was a kick across, and Craig Gilroy bouncing the ball. He goes in for the try. That was during a penalty advantage. He didn't give any more penalty advantages. Is that a word? During the game. So why? So as soon as there was a penalty, he went advantage, and then as soon as there was one pass, he blew it up and he brought it back. So Benetton had numerous penalty advantages in the second half, and it wasn't given. So like week to week, you want to see a penalty advantage last 5 or 6 phases. If there's no momentum or go forward, then you bring it back. So anyway, that's my rant of the week.
I think next week, Stevie, that we pick a rant which doesn't involve a ref. Otherwise, we're going to get a real bad reputation here. Absolutely hate us.
I've got a rant that isn't ref related, and I put it in our group. Tom Price coming on for Scarlets wearing number 46. The kit man's got to sort that out. Never do you know you're more part of the bin juice than you're wearing. What's even number 24, 25, 46 for you, mate? On you come.
Probably had to change in the showers. Like changing room wasn't big enough. Made him change in the showers. It's always demeaning.
We'll leave the referees alone, lads, and we'll move on to the fashion play. Shanks, you're a fashion icon, so you're more than capable of calling people out. And this week, Barry Murphy, who was on World Feed commentary. What on earth is he dressed like this for?
That is straight out of The Office. David Brent, when he's singing that single, he creates that single with all the money. If you don't know me by now, like chinos. Wow, are they chinos? They could be linen trousers, white shirt. What is he wearing on his feet? That's all I want to know. I'm thinking Jesus sandals. I reckon Jesus sandals.
I think it'd be brogues, no socks. That's definitely.
He might actually be wearing the mountain boots from last week, the North Face mountain boots that we had on last week.
I had the worst ever thing done to me before, like the blues they were at the time. It was my last year. I was injured. I was retiring, and we were going to the races. Right? We were going to like the Chepstow races. And he had an email round from one of the secretaries to say that it's fancy dress, it's Hawaiian. So that was sent around to all the players. Then she sent a separate email to everyone, bar me, to say that's just for Shanks. We're going in suits. I get dropped off. I get dropped off at the training centre. My wife drops me off. I get out and I've got white trousers on. I've got a Hawaiian shirt. I've got the flowers around me, the whole shebang. And I've walked in. It's been like, does anyone fancy a Chinese? Like that. And then everyone's in a suit. I'm like that. It's the worst. I vowed that never ever to happen again. So
Shanks, you're usually the one.
Outfits.
You're usually the one playing all the pranks. It's not like you to get caught out like that.
It's bloody
Students
become the master, didn't they?
Yeah, fair enough. Lads, the new segment this week. It's new in the URC Unloaded. It's called the Presenter's Choice. So 3 unknown topics are going to come up on screen here in a second, and the presenter gets to choose which one we talk about. So obviously it's my choice this week. So let's see what topics. Best player you played with, head coach you clashed with, and best team holiday. John, do you want to kick us off with just pick one? And I will go with
your choice, mate.
Head coach you clashed with.
I wouldn't even say I clashed, to be honest. I just didn't get picked. Didn't have a voice. Did I clash with Cockers?
But is that something, John, that if a coach doesn't pick you, you just automatically don't like him?
No, I didn't clash. I looked through my career, and you don't get picked a number of times. I wasn't always a starter. I'm thinking about coaches that I actually have arguments with.
One of the boys said your nickname was a pilot fish, though, John, because you're just like a pilot fish follows a shark, like the head coach all the way.
That wasn't me.
That
definitely wasn't me.
Not old John Toenails Barclay.
That's the sheriff, mate. It's hanging. His little toenails poking at the bottom. It's not a secret. I didn't have a great relationship with Richard Cockrell. The game's evolved, and some people evolve, some people don't. I think players drive good teams now, or at least part of driving the team forward. And certainly the model at Edinburgh didn't represent that. It was one way or sort of the highway. And if you spoke up against it, that was the end. So yeah, difference of opinion. Let's just say difference of opinion on how the game should be played. Differences of opinions on culture, but yeah, I wasn't.
Shanks, what about you?
Coaches were scared of me, mate, because I was like Michael Jordan. I had such a big say and such a great player that they were a little bit timid around me. I didn't really clash with anyone too badly. Like, I always remember Warren Gatlin was a difficult one to read. Like, you'd walk past him and something like that, and you didn't know if he hated you or he thought you were the best player in the world. Probably the latter. But I remember for my 50th cap for Wales, right? We had before you leave for the stadium, your coach normally comes in and gives you a last minute word of advice about the team you're playing. So we were at the Vale Hotel and we had Italy, 2008, and he comes in and we're all in a horseshoe, 1-22 at the time, and he starts talking about Italy, keeping the ball in play, not giving them set piece, making them tired, keep working in the same way. And then he goes, also, boys, it's Shanks' 50th. And I've sat up now. I'm like, oh, what's
here we go.
He's done a PowerPoint for me, or is there some sort of montage? Oh, I know what he's like. And he just goes, Shanks, when you were at Saracens and I was coaching Wasps, we didn't rate you, fella. In fact, we all used to target you. But well done. You got 50 caps on the bus. I was so devastated. I was broken. This is like the biggest moment of my career. Like, I had 30 family coming down to watch, and he just said that before the game. And all the boys then were just ripping into me on the bus. Like bus journeys to the game are normally super quiet, like everyone listening to AirPods music. Everyone was just turning around, looking at me, going, "Thinks you're rubbish. It's going to retire you." But there we are. That was Warren Gatlin's man management. And I scored that day, and we went on to great things. So.
Well done, Shanks. Well done. A bit like yourself, I didn't really have any gripes with coaches too much. I think in the early days, Mark McCall, who's still with the Saracens, we were training one day, and I was in the bin juice, and the ball was being thrown around, and I made a tackle. It was like, that touch grab sort of nonsense, and I made a tackle around the ankles, and it was Tommy Bowe who was starting during the week. And when I tackled him, we kind of rolled along the ground, and I fell into Magsy. And Magsy went down as if he'd just been sniper rifled from the hedges and rolled around, rolling around, making a big scene. And Mark McCall, he didn't grab me, but he was in my grill, and he was like, "Get off the pitch! Never come back here again! Go to the changing rooms! Get out of here! Who do you think you are?" And all this. And I was like, "Oh." I was like 19 years of age, just out of school. So I went into the change rooms, was like, what the heck was that about? Like, that was uncalled for, or was I in the wrong? Like, and then Magsy, of course, when I was walking off, magically just got up and was fine, and Tommy was fine and everything else. But it's funny, like, at the time I was so scared, and then Mark McCall afterwards come up and apologise and says, "Look, I just lost my cool with you, and I'm sorry about that, and you're starting next week." So it was happy days. He's done well for himself now, hasn't he? Doing well at Sarries.
Yeah, he's got a massive property portfolio in London, so yeah, I agree. He's doing well. Just reminded me, like, we used to have a New Zealander when Steve Hansen came in as coach. He brought in a big team around him, Scott Johnson, and we let you have Scott Johnson in Scotland for a bit.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to go back. I'll let you finish, but I'm going to go back and where and say Scott Johnson. I don't want to do my one-to-one with you in a pair of pants playing guitar. That's not appropriate. Telling me I've not been picked. That's not how any one-to-one should go. So anyway, over to you, Shags. I changed my mind. Scott Johnson.
Good. We'll hear this now. But Andrew Hall, he was strength and conditioning coach, and he came in, and this is what caused now the term kegging, where everyone wears tracksuit bottoms and people go behind each other and whip them down if they're not done up tight. Anyway, Andrew Hall was first to the dinner queue, and there was like an unwritten rule that coaches would let players eat first at lunch. Anyway, he's gone up first, and he's got a massive plate, and he's got like another small plate with bread on it, and I've just gone behind him. I've gone like that, boom, with his tracksuit bottoms, and trod on them, and he's like this with plates, and he couldn't do anything. And then everyone could see like his pants, and everyone was laughing. And it's like, "Oh, you're the best, Shanks. Well done. Oh, brilliant." And then like 3 hours later, he wouldn't let me in the gym, and we're having a standoff. And he said, "No." He goes, "You're not training after that." And I'm going, "Well, you're not training my gym." I go, "It's not your gym, is it? Have you paid for it?" "No." I said, "I'm going to train." And like we were trying to push past each other. And no, yeah, I actually looking back now, but it was more of a pride thing, John. But after that, pulling down someone's pants, the term kegging became like a £200 finable offence. And sometimes it was worth taking the £200 because they were there for the taking. Airports are the best place, I think, for that.
Speaking of finable offence, I know we're not going to this, but Reece Thomas, Stinky, Stinky. He got fined for farting at the Scarlets. He farted. No. He didn't get fined. He got fined, I think, by the chairman. He were on a bus after the game, and he kept farting. And someone said, "If you fart one more time, you're going to get fined." And he said, and the bus went quiet, and he goes, big fart, kicks off. In his pay slip, he got fined for farting in your pay slip.
Must have been horrific as well, because I know the bloke. I know what goes down his throat.
Yeah, well, exactly. Oh. Good times,
lads. Moving swiftly on from smelly farts and getting fined. Looking forward to this weekend's games. Just to recap the games last weekend before we move on. Cardiff get beaten at home to the Bulls 19-29. Scarlets lost at home to Munster 13-43. Edinburgh draw 20-all with the Stormers. Connacht lost at home. We didn't chat about the Dragons. We'll maybe chat about them a little bit more next week. 35-22 win. Glasgow 13-9. Leinster 43-7 against Zebre. Ospreys 13. Sharks 27, huge win for the Sharks, and Ulster 28, Benetton 8. So just the recapping on those, it's some big fixtures this week, John, especially for the likes of Edinburgh to try and get their season back on track. We chatted with Mike Blair after week 1 and everything was rosy. Then all of a sudden they get beaten away to Benetton with a last-minute drop goal. Then they draw at home to the Stormers. They really need to pick it back up again, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of wondered where Edinburgh were, and Shanks, you spoke about Plan B. What's Plan B for some of the Welsh sides? But Edinburgh have got one style of play at the moment, and it works. It seems to be working at the start of games when they're full of energy, but as soon as fatigue sets in, it seems to limit them a bit. So, yeah, I wonder what the next step. I think the Bulls obviously are going to be a tough challenge this weekend for them. I don't know. I really think off the back of watching the South African teams at the weekend, is it a one-hit wonder for them? I don't know, but I think you're right. I think Edinburgh need to find a bit of a groove. That being said, they're 9 points from 2 games. I know they've drawn 1 and lost 1. They've taken 2 bonus points, so they're not in a bad spot. I'm most interested to watch Scarlets go over to Leinster.
John, are you paying a guy to play bagpipes outside your house again?
There actually is the most cliche thing. There's actually a guy playing bagpipes outside.
I can hear it. Did you pay him?
It'd be Dylan Richardson from.
Yeah, look, I'm Scottish. Look.
What about the Welsh regions? What about the Welsh regions, Shanks? After their disappointing week in week 3.
Yeah, it'd be good to see if the Dragons could kick on after a really good performance in Connacht. Tame Basham was player of the match, I should say. Looked really good. I think he's going to be starting 7, I reckon, for Wales in the autumn. Jordan Williams was good as well. Real good heads-up player. So that'll be a good game to see if they can back up a good performance with another. Bit of pressure on Cardiff versus the Sharks. Sharks obviously had a good win against the Ospreys. Watched the game against the Blues. So Cardiff Rugby, that's going to be so difficult to keep not saying. I think Ospreys, Benetton. I'd be pretty confident the Ospreys will win.
I disagree.
I think they'll grind out a win, mate. I reckon.
Away from home, I reckon Benetton win that game. At this time of year, dry ball, I think. Hey, well, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, that is true. Bit of interference there, I think, coming from the bagpiper. Maybe he's got electric pipe. But I think the Ospreys are doing it. I think after the game on Friday or Saturday, I think it was, that there'll be nothing that exciting, but they'll do enough to win. But yeah, all of a sudden now against these South Africa teams, the pressure's on.
Yeah,
these are tough games now. I think it would have been easier to have these South Africa teams. I know it's 4 games in now, but like games 1 and 2, because I think all of a sudden now that they found out, it's like the Matrix, like Neon. They just worked out how to be the Matrix.
And quickly, Shanks, just on Dragons versus the Stormers this week. Obviously Dragons off the back of a good win.
Yeah, I think Sam Davis, get them in the right areas. Roger Williams is good. Jordan Williams, Jonah Holmes, a couple of these boys that haven't been selected in the Welsh squad will have a point to prove as well, because you could arguably say that Sam Davis deserves his spot. Maybe won't start or play in the autumn, but maybe deserves his spot in the squad. Same with Jonah Holmes. So I think the back row they've got now at the Dragons is good. That's exciting. It's powerful. They've got a team full of carriers that get them on front foot ball. If they can get front foot ball, they've got the players behind to be able to cut teams and create and score tries.
Yeah, it's going to be.
What about you, Stevie? What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, for me this weekend, Ulster are playing on Friday night against the Lions, as I referenced earlier on. Obviously, it's a big game. I'd say there's going to be a few more changes with the Ulster side, but the game of the weekend, I think, that Leinster Scarlets game, you're going to see Leinster win that. You have to, Leinster win the majority, 95% of their home games, so I can see them getting a good win against the Scarlets. But Munster versus Connacht. Connacht, a humiliating defeat against the Dragons at home. It was conceded 3 second-half tries. Just capitulated. They were brutal, and they have to back that poor performance up with a really good one. Bundyaki's back in the centre. he's the talisman for Connacht. He's back, so after his long layoff from the Lions. But there's a lot of emotion around this game. Believe it or not, on the 16th of October 2016, Anthony Foley, the head coach of Munster Rugby, sadly passed away. We can all remember that. A very emotional time, and I'm sure this Saturday on the 16th we'll be remembering 5 years. So I think I speak on behalf of everybody from the URC podcast, Unloaded with us lads, and everybody on Premier Sports, that our thoughts are with everybody in Munster Rugby, Irish Rugby, and of course Anthony Foley's immediate friends and family. So that's the big game of the weekend, Shanks. It's going to be a cracker. Usually these Irish derbies, when there's all this emotion and talking points, you get a sellout crowd, and it'll be a great spectacle. It's just a pity I'm not down there to commentate on. But that's all we've got time for this week on the URC Unloaded. Don't forget, you can catch every minute of every URC game live on Premier Sports. Head to premiersports.com for subscription details. Shanks, you're back in the presenter's chair next week. Enjoy the rugby, everybody, this weekend, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
See you later.